Yeah.
We were talking about what lesson you think we should remember, we should learn as we remember the Holocaust.
Well, we have always been told, we are not landowners, but because we were not allowed to own land through the centuries. We were not allowed in the military. We were not allowed in former years really in industries, could not enter industries. The banking business we learned. So what could we do? First of all, we studied. The old Jewish people studied. Now when 2 centuries you do nothing but read and study, I do believe that your brain develops more. That you are becoming, yes, I believe that that your brain is very much, because you do research, they searched the Bible, they searched old documents, they couldn't do much else, is it right? And there could be merchants. So they became very efficient merchants, if you do nothing but merchandising, they became very efficient merchants through the centuries, and they became money handlers, and then in the end they were allowed into banking business also. But that is very recently. So people who could not own land and knew that they were being persecuted, what did they do? They bought diamonds, because diamonds they could either swallow before you had x-rays, or they could carry them and they could hide them. Land you cannot take along. So Jews had never been in the past great landowners, and I believe that is actually the reason for it.
Very possible.
That because what you can take along, my mother
something negotiable.
My mother said, my kind, my child, what you have in here, nobody can take away from you. So study and learn, because everything else they can take away, but this nobody can take from you. And that is a lesson I learned.
Yes.
You take it with you.
My mother said this.
Your mother said the same
words.
So there you are.
Same
Jewish people have to think that way. So we were always into education. Educate your children, learn, because you are never safe. But you are safe if you have this in your head.
Yes. Lydia, you didn't speak much to your children. Are you telling other people? When did you begin to tell anyone else about?
Actually, I was asked a few years ago to speak to a class here in junior high school. And I did it very reluctantly, because it upsets me to such a degree, I can't tell you. My back, my body breaks down, because I have made a decision. I black everything out that belongs to my past. I do not wish to remember. And I want to be a happy person. I do not want to hold grudges against anybody or anyone. And I can't do it with the memories I would have.
Do you think it's important to perpetuate the memories or the knowledge, what happened?
Yes, I think that is very important, because there are elements now already in the world, in this country, while the survivor of the Holocaust are still around, are maintaining that it never happened. So I don't want to know what happens in 100, 200 or 300 years down the road if they have the audacity to claim now that this never happened while these survivors are still around.
You're absolutely right.
And people will believe it.
So
there are always people who will believe it. They want to believe because they want to be cruel.
So each testimony corroborates another, and I thank you so very, very much for contributing yours to this collection.
Well, I have to say I want to thank you. It's been wonderful. But
for contributing yours to this collection.
Well, I have to say I want to thank you. It's been wonderful. But I was not a survivor in the sense that most people have been, who were in concentration camps and really had they had really very, very, very bad experiences in their life. So I was very fortunate to have had what I had, which was not much, considering the Holocaust. And I
Yes.
thank you very much for having given me this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Melted
In Rotterdam.
in Rotterdam.
Well, how did you get this?
I don't know where.
To look at them and talk. And go as close to that as possible.
No, just hold it against the black background.
Yeah.
Well, you have to get here.
Hmm?
Is this good?
Mm-hmm. I'm
Gonna
going
get close.
What is
to
this now?
lean it.
Oh.
Oh, we were married.
These are your
I think
identity.
Okay.
This
I
is
think
all
she's,
having to
yeah,
do with
Kind
identity.
of bumping into, okay.
Oh, thanks.
Okay.
All righty. Oh.
Just name it. You don't
Okay.
have to explain the story. You've
Okay.
done that.
Yes,
but if
I
you
know.
could name what this
Yes.
document is.
And it has to be held perpendicular.
Is this all right, Jody? No
It is.
reflection?
Yeah, I need you to lean it just slightly towards me. There. That's very...
Lean it like
Mhm,
so?
It's good. You,
Okay.
However you had it, it was perfect.
Okay.
You want this
Yeah,
English
that
translation on top?
Yeah,
You
leave
can
leave
hold
the
it.
post-its. I think so.
What I'm doing is just...
Because she has to lean over.
It's okay right now. What I'm doing is just panning over the sentences so that if someone doing research wants to make a
Well, they
still
will have
capture of it.
copies. I have copies to take to the museum.
Okay, well, this will be a good backup then,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll get whatever other information sheet
Mm-hmm.
is cued by with this. But what I'm not doing ever with the documents is trying to make a full page photocopy, because once I zoom out to that range on the screen, it's
Can't
too
read it
small.
anymore.
Right, it's not readable.
So you're panning it.
Mhm.
All right, now, would it be better? You have to look at the monitor. That's the problem.
I'll turn it around.
But I was
Oh, she
thinking,
can't see that.
I was thinking if we could turn it this way. How is that?
It's fine.
Because then Lydia could herself see what it is.
No, I can't. It's blinding.
No,
Okay.
not what it is, but
But I can read this.
yeah, not. When would you like her to just simply label this document?
Right when you put it up.
Okay, what is this document?
Well, this is our marriage certificate in Amsterdam on September 6, 1939, and we had a civil marriage. We were not married in a synagogue.
Okay. Give me the next
This
one.
is my birth certificate. but I
Oh,
don't think
on the
it's
back.
on the back. Can you see this? It's unreal. I don't know how it's on the back.
Very pale. Does it show?
I'm going to get the yellow labels first.
Did you have this with you, your birth certificate, when you went to Holland? How did they ever get it?
I might have had that with me
Mm-hmm.
because I was looking for it and I said, my gosh. And then I turned this around and I realized there's my birth certificate.
Yeah. Speak a little louder.
But I don't know
Okay.
that he is.
Okay?
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, this is my husband's birth certificate, which he finally received in 1944. As I told you, it took many, many years to establish his birth.
Mm-hmm. And this was so important
Yes.
in order to... Wunderbar. What have we done here?
Well, I think you left it in order. Just
I think so. Okay.
no, that is much later.
That's much later. Oh,
It's for the
really. It's when we moved this thing.
I think now you should take all the little documents.
I had them in order.
You have them in order?
I
Okay.
had them in order. See. Not yet this, but this.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is the incredible so-called passport that was manufactured by the consul in Amsterdam, and actually I used. as a passport, which is nothing but a piece of paper and a statement which was supposed to have been true, and I think it is true.
It worked. What is not
No,
yet?
that's,
And then this also.
this is the document piece of paper that I had to have in order to get the various entry permissions and the tourist, travel permit.
The border crossings.
The border crossings, and you at this time nowadays you do not need this in Europe. At that time every country was separate, and in order to get in and out of a country you needed a visa and you needed a passport. Those were different times and had nothing to do with the war. This was a general rule in Europe. So these were the various, as you have seen before, this was a German, and these were the various visas for the various countries that I entered, with the dates also on them as I entered and as I left.
So it
They
was.
were only transit visas.
So this passport and these transit visas.
Yes, but they only were good in connection with my husband's passport, because
He needed that.
yes, I could not travel without it.
All right.
This I had to produce. This is World War II, and the American law says that you have to bring evidence as of the last 5 years of your residence in case you had been incarcerated or had a criminal record, and you had to bring these documents. But this was wartime and mine had burned up, but I was able to re-establish myself as I had lived in Germany and also in Hull, England. And these are the letter of good conduct, you call them.
From Hull, England.
From Hull, England, and Germany also. I had lived
And
in
this is
Germany
the
too.
one from
Yeah,
Germany.
There you see the swastika again, the beautiful swastika. And it just,
Letter of good conduct.
this is an American law.
You lied, but still they gave you the letter of good conduct.
Oh, this is a notification of before the bombing of Rotterdam. This was a notification that I had received probably my immigration quota number. Yeah, of your husband. I got a preferred quota number, and that's the. This was the most amazing of all documents, which
Is this the quota number you're referring to? The one that he sent you then?
yes, this is the most amazing document that I believe I have, and it was sent to an uncle of my husband's, as you can see, Harry Ostwald. It was sent to Harry Ostwald in New York, in care of Herman Plaut Flowers, and Herman Plaut was my husband's uncle, who had this document in his possession, which had my immigration number on it. And without this, I could have never come to this country, because these documents had burned up. And his uncle had this postcard and had forwarded it to us. I do not know why. We had it in our possession when Rotterdam burned.
Inga, can you lean it a little this way?
Mhm.
Just a couple
And,
millimeters, just to get the
And
glare.
this is the number here.
This must be the immigration
Yeah.
number.
V288059.
There, now I can see it.
The magic number.
The magic number, yes, from the State Department. Was it Cordell Hull who was in Cordell Hull? My husband always talked about Cordell Hull, who was somebody in the State Department then.
He was the Secretary of State.
Oh, he was the Secretary of State. He told my husband one time, you have to come back to this country. Cordell Hull told him, you're living abroad all your life. You have to reestablish, you have to move to America.
Several of these small ones.
This document asks for the documentation of my husband's birth certificate. for which he had to travel to the United States, and which he didn't actually get until the year 1944, because he was born, as I told you, by a midwife in Missouri in 1905.
But he came back with something that said,
Well, he had something, but it was not he never had his birth certificate up to that time. They established that he was born finally.
Yes.
They had established it. This gives the law of 1922, where the law in America was changed, and a foreigner who married an American did not become an American citizen. Apparently, up to 1922, anyone marrying an American became automatically an American citizen, but this was changed.
and now you begin your flight to
Well,
Lisbon,
Lisbon.
Spain.
Well, this is not, no. This is, apparently they gave me in Portugal, they gave me a vaccination without which I could not arrive in this country either. There must have been mandatory because I was revaccinated.
And this was August 6th.
August 6th of 1940 in Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was an air later on. And here we had, this was actually before we entered Spain, we had to declare how much money, we were changing officially at the border, because the majority of people would buy the pesetas, I believe it was, the currency. They bought them outside the country, they were much cheaper. And this is what we exchanged at the border. And you had to bring absolute proof once you left the country where and how you spent the money, and they would count it. And they would put you into a prison. And while we were in Portugal, we also had a very good time. We must have gambled. This is a little gambling casino. Neither my husband nor I were great gamblers. And this is just, this is
Property.
this is 1946, and it's a declaration that neither my husband's parents nor my husband ever belonged to the what do you call nation?
Social.
He never was a Nationalsozialist.
A fascist organization.
A fascist. That he never belonged to a fascist organization, and so this is a document.
Mm-hmm.
And
this
is
one we saw during the
yes,
filming.
this is my righteous, wonderful friend, Louise Kreyer-Stöter, who deserves to be honored greatly. And we were very good friends.
And now before we finish, I have a question to ask you, Lydia. How many people in your family, your husband's family and your own family, perished in the Holocaust?
Well,
I know you were very positive to try to tell me who survived.
yes, well, on my father's side, most of them perished, and they perished in the gas ovens. On my mother's side, my uncle, who was who lived in Berlin and was a movie producer, had his seventh wife. And
His seventh?
His seventh, yes. He was very handsome, and he was married to many film actresses, quite well-known ones too. And his seventh wife was a French woman, a non-Jew, and at that age she had 2 more children.
Mm-hmm.
And she kept him underground in France, and he finally came to America, and then became he became an artist, and a very fine artist, I believe.
I'll bring those
Yes.
things over.
And
So he survived.
he survived, and I did not mention before that I have cousins in America who are alive, but they are alive for one reason only, because my mother's youngest brother left during World War I and went to America and was married here and had 3 children. Now, I never met this family until I came to New York and into this country, but I have 3 cousins in this country, and 1 cousin has passed away since. I have a very dear cousin who lives in Florida now, is retired and is remarried there, and I'm very close to him. And his name is David. Of course, it's a David, and Richard David. And Richard and June David, he married a very lovely lady.
What about your mother's family in Turkey?
My mother's family in Turkey goes back to the Inquisition.
Did they survive?
Well, my mother's family was not in Turkey, really. My mother, I told you, was, she was a product of a Turkish mother and a German father, and they moved to Germany. So they all came to Germany. That's how my uncle was.
Did they survive?
Well, on her side, more people survived. My uncle, as I told you, survived in France. Her 2 sisters, who were my aunts and I was very close to, they came to America. Mm-hmm. One died fairly young with cancer, Aunt Mary, and Aunt Becky lived in San Francisco and lived to be 94 or 96 years. Mm. And I visited her quite a few times in San Francisco, and she had an adopted son who has passed away since too. So he was my cousin that I knew from Hamburg. And we were very close, and my sister from England visited with me quite a few times in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Well, and these are the paintings.
Yes, of my uncle, who was so multi-talented, and I found
film producer.
Yeah, he was a film producer, and it's very interesting because I sort of see I think this is Mary here, Mother Mary. This looks like a religious.
This way,
yes.
But the writing is this way.
Yeah, but I do believe it looks like a very. To me, it looks like a religious.
It is. If you turn it back over
with the star.
I can see the
Yes,
characters. I see all the characters.
Definitely, isn't it? Yes.
Yes, it is.
There you can see the characters. Is it religious?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Is this the baby?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's what I think it is.
This is the baby. This is the father, and this is Mary.
I think it's Mary, Joseph,
and
Jesus, and the star.
Yes, of
Gives a
course.
cross.
Can
in
you
the
see
sky.
it now? Isn't that interesting?
So that the cross is in the sky with the star.
Did they remain Jewish here, or did they adopt?
No. See, he married. His first wife was Jewish. I don't think after that the other 6 were not Jewish. Oh, they were film actresses, but the last one was, I believe, Catholic, because he married her in France, and then
this, his name was Constantine.
Constantine, and he must have. You see, it
First
says
American showing of the dynamic paintings of Constant.
You see it in Los Angeles. He lived in Los Angeles, but I never saw him.
This is 1961, December.
Yeah, he died shortly after that. But he was very talented.
This looks like a woodcut.
It's possible.
I believe.
I think these were
Okay.
Yeah, and if you pick up the other one, it's a Christmas card.
It is a Christmas card.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
The other is definitely greetings from the Davids.
I didn't know that you mentioned that. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
That's a
All right.
Christmas card.
It's clearly a Christmas
And
card.
that's why the
Yes.
theme. Okay.
Well, once more, Lydia, thank you.
What are you thinking? Are you thanking me? Oh, are we still on? Are we still live?
We're rolling.
We are rolling. Oh my goodness gracious! I don't know what to say. Let me take this old lady. Will take her glasses off, and she has had a marvelous time and wants to thank you, Elma.
Inge.
Inge.
Yes.
Inge. You see my age.
That's all right.
Inge, Jodi, it was wonderful to give your time, your energy, and everything that is involved for
Yeah,
this
enjoyed it.
task. And you have a big, big journey back now. You have a trip to make to Richmond. And your beloved husband stayed
you.
by your side.
Okay.
Yeah.
He is sitting in the background, but he would not let Inge come by herself.
That's
And
right.
I'm very delighted to have met Inge. Finally, we have met over the telephone for the longest time, and I feel that I've known you for ages or for a long, long time, forever.
And now you must
When are you
come to
coming?
Richmond
Oh, yes.
and visit the Holocaust
Oh,
Museum.
yes, yes,
and
I
visit
will do.
me.
Yes, I will. I will come to the
Good.
Holocaust Museum, and I will be in touch.
Good,
Wonderful.
I will be in touch with you.
good.
And
You have email.
yes, email. I'm not
course.
I'm not the best one with emails. I don't. I turn it on and I turn it off. There's
em-
something. Oh, is anybody good with computers?
Yes,
Oh, good.
What was
a
that?
question.
Good.
Thank you.
Turn the
Doing
tape
it.
off.
Everybody's ready.
Ready?
You're ready? To begin with, I went from Berlin. This is my hometown, Hamburg, okay? Then I lived in Berlin. I went to Amsterdam, Holland. And now the Germans, and of course from Holland I went across to Hull, which is approximately here on the coast of England, where my sisters live. They now live in Manchester, which is on the other side.
Here's
And when the Germans came and they told us how to go to Portugal, the easiest, of course, as you can see, is to go from here to Germany and straight through and into Portugal. But this was all German, no one was allowed to go what we call the Ruhr near Cologne. So we had to travel from here to Berlin. And I told you that we arrived as these victorious troops arrived at the same station. And from there to Munich. From Munich we went to Switzerland, Geneva. And from Geneva we went to Lyon. From Lyon we went to Lyon, France. From there we went to,
Montpellier.
I can't read this.
Nîmes, and then
Ni-
Montpellier.
Yeah. And then we went to the Spanish border, Port Bou. And from there we went into Spain. We went through Barcelona, which was totally destroyed. Then into Madrid, where my husband had this horrible thing happened. And then finally we arrived here in Portugal, and we finally left from here to go through the Atlantic Ocean to the free world.
Freedom.
Well, what else can you say? Free world.